third quick video on this pickup truck with leaking condenser. Okay, so on the first video I went through when I had the problem with the leak. On the second video, I believe it came back several days later and I finally found the leak. Going through the first, I went through a procedure, and we're looking at the microns right here because this is what this video is basically about. As you notice, I always stress proper evacuation, and you can't read it with gauges. Gauges mean nothing. You must use a micron gauge. Guessing doesn't do it good enough. Just let's not go there. Okay, so in this situation, it came in, it had like 1-2 psi first time. So I evacuated it, got it all the way down into the micro gauge. It took a long time because the system was dead a while and it was old. It's 2007. It came back several days later with a leak. Couldn't find the leak, but I knew about where the leak was, and I kind of knew where it was, but it was one of those leaks that only leak under a certain pressure or temperature. So I filled it up again, and this time I ran it for like 30 minutes at a high idle right here in the shop. I stayed around, and then all of a sudden the leak opened up. So I evacuated again. Now keep in mind, every time I'm evacuating and I'm redoing the systems the first time and the second time, I always flush with dry nitrogen. Sometimes I do it 3 times. That's called a triple evac and flush. And this last time when finding the leak, we have a new condenser in here, and you always change your receiver dryer, or in this case it's a accumulator. And the accumulator has a large bag, like a big sponge in it, a bean bag. Think of it as a bean bag, and it holds quite a quantity of oil gets soaked up in the bag itself and what lays at the bottom of the accumulator. But not only that, you have the new desiccant material that absorbs moisture. And this is where I'm going on this quick video right here. When I hooked up my vacuum pump, just to stress the difference it makes. If you've seen all my other videos, how long it takes to do a vacuum on a system that's been open to the atmosphere. When I left this vehicle for the mechanic to remove the condenser and remove the accumulator, I always come in and I don't leave them under a vacuum. I use my dry nitrogen, and you fill the system up to like 1 or 2 psi. So it has a slightly positive pressure of dry nitrogen after you perform the vacuum. This way, when your mechanic opens up, or yourself, the system, instead of being under a vacuum when you remove the refrigerant, you do not pull air, what contains a ton of moisture, into your ester oil or your peg oil. So he just finished putting this on. I just hooked up, and within 5 minutes I was already in the 200 micron range on the system, because it's so clean and dry inside that immediately on putting a vacuum it just went right down to the 200 range, and within a few minutes I'll be hitting down into the 100 range. This is the difference between a clean dry system. And remember, every time I put fresh refrigerant in there, refrigerant is dry, and refrigerant actually absorbs moisture. So I was actually sacrificing refrigerant as part of the desiccant material. Every time I put it in, took it out, put it in, slightly cleaning the system on top of the nitrogen and the deep vacuums. This is something that you have to see side by side on 2 vehicles or performing the same test on the same vehicle. Most technicians don't take out the time, or most students never get to see these kind of results, because no one's gonna, for one, have something that's actually capable of reading moisture content, and the other is they don't know what it is, and then they got to learn how to read it and actually interpolate what the numbers mean. So that's the end of this video. Number 3 out of 3.